Good morning. If you have decided to study and you want to become a professional hypnotherapist, keep watching our training videos about clinical hypnosis. Hypnotherapy is an effective technique with which you can help and improve the quality of life of a great number of your future patients. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and also you can download several ebooks also free. The information in this video is extracted from our book Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Deep Hypnosis, of our publisher Clinical Hypnotherapy, registered with ISBN. Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Suicide, Part 2. We differentiate between suicidal threat. It consists of the affirmation or even the insinuation of the intention to commit suicide. This is generally expressed to the people closest and closely linked to the patient. These people will do everything they can to prevent it. This threat should be considered as a request for help. Unsuccessful suicide. Suicidal action that has not achieved its end, even though the patient had a genuine intention of reaching this end. This would be the suicidal act that, if it had not been avoided, would probably have ended the patient's life. Possibly, and if he or she does not follow a treatment, the person who has attempted suicide is very likely to attempt it again, especially if the problem that precipitated the attempt has not been solved. Successful suicide. This is the successful attempt of genuine suicidal desires, or also as an unintended incident within that suicidal behavior. Maybe he really wanted to end his days, or he really just wanted to draw attention to himself and ask for help. Suicidal simulation, but we will never know, as we will never know, because the act has been consummated and the patient is unfortunately dead. In this case, the patient has achieved his or her end, regardless of whether it was desired or not. Suicidal behavior. These are those aimed at achieving this end, whether consciously or unconsciously. Behaviors can be conscious or unconscious. We consider suicidal behavior as an attempt at an inadequate solution to a problem from the patient's perspective. Simulated suicide. This is the action of frustrated suicide, because there is no real intention to reach this end, but rather to draw attention to oneself or to desperately ask for help. Let's make an aside on this point, as it is really important. How many people, in order to get attention, to be listened to, because they do not know how to ask for help, because they want to punish their loved ones, because they are angry, etc., they have tied an old rope, which they were convinced would not hold an old, rusty, and weakly held eye-bolt on the wall or ceiling. They have hung themselves from it, not without first warning that they were going to do it, so that they would run after him and prevent the suicidal act. But fate plays a trick on them, and that old rope and that old eye-bolt or nail hold their weight, and against what they wanted to do, they end up committing suicide. How many people at the top of a building have shouted that they were going to jump off, and in reality, this was far from their intention. But once they are up there and with so many people below them watching, they come to think something has to be done, and it is almost very difficult for them to escape from the situation they have got themselves into. Almost out of pride, not to make fools of themselves, and pushed by some unwise person from below who encourage them to carry out their suicidal act. They end up plunging into the void. Even once at the top, on the edge of the terrace, for whatever reason, they slip or lose their balance and against their real intention ends up falling and killing themselves. All this is known from the few who have been saved and then told that it was not their intention to end their lives, but rather to call for help and draw attention to their desperate situation. Suicide risk. The possibility that a patient will deliberately attempt suicide, this risk is increased if there is an awareness of the meaninglessness of life, of the desire for death as an escape and a respite from what bothers and torments him or her. Also, if there are previous suicidal threats and attempts, he, the patient, comes to the conclusion that the only way to escape and get rid of everything that bothers and torments him is to take his own life. When a patient has a plan and tells us in great detail how he or she is going to commit suicide, telling us and giving us details of the plan, there is a high probability and likelihood that what he or she is saying is true. Also, when a patient with suicidal intentions tells us that he is well, that he or she has already overcome the slump, and that he or she is not thinking about suicide, beware and be very careful. He or she will surely complete the suicidal act, as he or she has made his own or her decision, is going to kill himself or herself, and therefore feels calm and liberated, which is why he or she says that he or she is already well. We should also be concerned and take appropriate measures if the patient talks about death and says things like, "They would be better off if I died. I would be better off dead. Only by dying can this be fixed. I can't go on. I don't care anymore." Or even, "I don't care about anything. I don't care about anything anymore." Or even, "I'm thinking of ending it all." The patient who contemplates suicide usually does so for a while before attempting it, during which time he or she may be very interested in death, ways of dying, and how others have taken their own lives. Nor should we ignore a number of behaviors of the patient. For example, when they start to say goodbye, they pay off their debts and give away their personal and most precious things. Usually, when they plan to take their own life, they try to put their affairs in order before they die. Rational suicide. A person who, after a long illness, where they see that there is no cure and it is incapacitating, comes to the conclusion that the best thing to do is to commit suicide. Coldly decided suicide in a person who receives adequate palliative care and moral support for their illness, but who does not see this as a solution. Collective suicide. The suicide is carried out by a group of people. In this type of suicide, one member of the group is the inducer and the rest are the dependents, very common in groups of sectarian origin. If you are interested in continuing learning about clinical hypnosis, watch our next video, Direct Clinical Hypnosis, Suicide, Part 3. Remember, with the description of this video, you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and also you can download several ebooks also free. If you have any questions, add them in the comments area. On this topic and many others we'll talk about in the channel and in the videos that we'll publish. So, if you're interested, do not miss our next videos. Thank you very much.